Dagda agus Polsha. Hi, and welcome, Jon O'Sullivan from the Irish Pagan School. And I'm here chatting with Shannon, who was a participant in our very first Fireside Mentor sessions with myself. So the purpose of the Fireside Mentor sessions was to make space to have Dagda specific content, Dagda focused kind of meetings over a 6 month period. So I suppose the first question then really, Shannon, was why were you interested in the Fireside Mentor Group for yourself?
So I kind of been learning a bit more about the Dagda for a while, mostly through the Irish Pagan School and a lot of through your own work, John, especially the stuff on YouTube, the blog posts. And I was just finding I was really resonating with a lot of the material, and me being myself, once I find something I resonate with, I want to research it and get really, really deep into it. So when I got the email from IPS about, hey, we're doing this mentor session, it's primarily Dagda focused, I was like, oh, well, this either it's a sign or even if it's not a sign, just a coincidence, I'm still going to go for it. Can't hurt to always try and learn something more. And yeah, I'm quite glad that I signed up for it.
Awesome. So I suppose, how then would you describe the overall experience?
Yeah, it was, hang on, my words broke.
No, that's fine. Take
um,
all the time.
yeah. It was everything I expected, and then also definitely some stuff I didn't expect. Like there was a lot of growth happening really fast, but not at a pace I couldn't handle, if that makes sense. Like it
Oh,
was kind of a domino tower falling over, but in a really positive way. Just a lot of things kind of clicking into place in a way that was really relevant for both my personal and spiritual and professional life.
yeah. And do you think then there was, you mentioned like the dominoes, and that the dominoes were the information you'd already learned and experienced by going through previous teaching with the school. But then the mentor, like, session started them moving or shifting for you? Is
A
that
little
even a
bit.
question? Do you feel that the mentor session took the information you already had and caused motion, or was it that you were ready for motion and that just facilitated it?
Probably a mix of both, to be rightly honest. I think having the smaller group with the ability to have more in-depth conversations around specifically targeted topics definitely helped because it got me thinking in ways I hadn't before. It got me to kind of do things a little bit differently just by hearing a few more people's direct personal experience, hearing more just talking to you personally instead of just, watching your YouTube videos. Yeah, it was just a lot of like little extra pieces that kind of helped things start to click and move faster.
Okay. And speaking about like interacting directly, interacting with me instead of in a video like learning or environment, when it comes down to communication and the way in which I communicate, did you feel that was effective, or was there anything that was challenging around that or could be improved?
Hmm. I wouldn't say anything was challenging. I kind of like the way you communicate because it's kind of the way I communicate, which is a lot of context, a lot of oh, what's the word? Just kind of making sure everything's explained really in depth, and you're always very open about saying, "Hey, here's what we're going to be doing. Are you okay with that? Here's what you can do moving forward." There was never a lack of communication. It was all very kind of thorough and in depth, and gave us a good basis from which to work, I think.
Awesome. And then speaking of the work, um, was there any particular part of the work that you enjoyed? Was there any specific thing that you remember from the mentor that was challenging as far as the ask?
Hmm. Gotcha. Probably the thing I remember most is our discussions, and then also the guided journey that you created for us as a mentor session. I've done that several times since you sent it along to us with kind of varying experiences. That had been kind of challenging for me personally because I have trouble with focus sometimes, but that's my own thing I have to work on. And then sometimes we were giving questions for discussions I had a hard time answering, and that for me can be a challenge because I like to have the answers and I like to be able to know what to say. But that's not a bad thing, ambiguity is something that doesn't need to be avoided.
Yeah. And then you mentioned kind of your interest in Adagda and then his kind of alignment with you as you're kind of beginning to explore that relationship. Do you feel that the mentor session facilitated that, helped with that, hindered that? How would you describe, I suppose, your connection with the Dagda before, during, and then after the mentor program?
Mm, okay, let's see. Beforehand, yeah, there was definitely kind of a connection there. There were times where I could definitely sort of like feel his energy hovering about, if that makes sense. most often when I engage with music. As I've told you before, I've been a musician for most of my life. It is the basis of my career as a music therapist.
Hmm.
And that's kind of where that connection was for me, because I feel at my most spiritual when I'm, engaged in music, especially when I'm doing it free form. During the during the mentor session, I definitely feel like things were deepening because it felt like you were giving us more access points, if that makes sense. Different ways of connecting with the Dagda, different ways of kind of seeking him out. Again, the guided journey definitely helped with that for sort of a more one-on-one basis with him. And then as the mentor program was going on, I definitely could feel like I was thinking about him more, thinking about, okay, well, what would Dagda do in this situation? I find that I was growing as a professional, as a music therapist, because of the way that I have to use music to meet people where they're at. So in a way
Mm.
that kind of helped out with my job as well. And for myself, personally, is as opposed to professionally, I don't know, kind of delving deeper with a Dagda allowed me to kind of give myself a little bit more grace as a person in a way that it seems like the Dagda does in a lot of the lore and the ways that you've talked about and in my own experience. Now that mentor session is sadly come to its conclusion. Yeah, I'm trying to keep up with my offerings. I'm trying to always kind of keep what I've learned from him and from you in mind. And it's, I don't know, I feel different but the same, and I'm not sure how else to describe that.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. That's beautiful. Thank you very much for that. I do appreciate it. And then to like maybe wrap things off, if that makes sense. Um, how likely are you to recommend this mentor program? And if you were to give any advice to someone who was thinking of considering in the mentor program in future, what would that be?
Um, 1,000 out of 10 would recommend do the program. You won't regret it if you're interested in the Dagda and that sort of stuff. John's an amazing teacher. He very compassionately and carefully leads us through all the things that are going to help us, I think. For advice, come with an open mind, come with an open heart. Be ready to discuss things that are very deep. Be ready to face things that you might not want to face, and be ready for what that may teach you.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Shannon. I really, really appreciate having you on board for the mentor program. It has been a delight, and thank you again for this insight into your experiences with it.
Thank you very much, John.